I'll make a start. So, welcome today to our webinar, An Introduction to Age-Friendly Communities. We're really pleased to see so many people interested in learning more about the World Health Organization's framework for making a community age-friendly. My name is Charlotte Lewis, and I am the Age-Friendly Communities Network Manager here at the Centre for Ageing Better. And I'm joined today by my colleague Rebecca, who I'll ask to introduce herself now.
Hi everybody, I'm Rebecca Wines and I'm the Age Friendly Communities Learning Officer.
The Centre for Ageing Better is a charitable foundation funded by the National Lottery Community Fund, and we're part of the government's What Works network. And we're pioneering ways to make ageing better a reality for everyone, including challenging ageism and building an age-friendly movement, creating age-friendly employment and age-friendly homes. And one of the things that we do is we provide the secretariat for the UK network of age-friendly communities, where we work to grow the number of places that are taking an age-friendly approach, as well as supporting the communities that are taking this approach to learn from evidence and from one another. And this is what brings us here today, and we hope that after the webinar, many of you will be inspired to make your place an age-friendly community, or get more involved in the work that's currently happening in your place. Quick bit of housekeeping before we start. We'll be streaming today on YouTube, so if you have any issues with tech, you'll be able to go back and watch the webinar at the link that we'll share. And we'll also share the slides and any links that we put in the chat today after the webinar. In terms of Zoom functions, you can access captions today by clicking on the Show Captions, the CC button at the bottom of the screen. There's also a function around comments I see some of you using at the bottom of the screen. We'll be asking you to share your thoughts throughout today's webinar, so please do add any comments you have to this chat box. If for whatever reason you find the chat a bit distracting today, you can click on the small arrow next to the chat and then click where it says Show Chat Preview, which should stop you getting any pop-up messages. We won't have time for a Q&A today, and we normally find that the questions people ask throughout the webinar tend to be addressed over the course of the session. But in case you have a question that is not answered today, we'll be hosting a drop-in session tomorrow lunchtime if you want to discuss anything you've heard a bit further. And at the end of the webinar, we'll be sharing a survey link where you can ask us any questions directly and we can respond in a follow-up email or conversation. So to get us started, a brief outline of the webinar, which is going to last no longer than an hour. We'll be starting off by giving a bit of background on age-friendly communities, where they come from, and crucially their importance. After that, we'll be talking through the two key frameworks as laid out by the World Health Organization for actually making your community age-friendly, including some bits of good practice from across the UK. We'll then hear from a current age-friendly community about how they've gone about their work. And we'll finish off by telling you a little bit about the UK network of age-friendly communities, as well as sharing practically what the first steps are if you're inspired today to make your place age-friendly. So to start, I invite anyone who would like to share in the chat where you're joining us from today. I know that we have people joining us who are from communities who are already working to become age-friendly, who perhaps want to find out a little bit more about the frameworks that underpin this work or some good examples from elsewhere. But I know that there are people representing places today that aren't yet age-friendly communities and perhaps are thinking about whether starting an age-friendly journey is right for them. And I know that in previous rounds of this webinar, people from the same community have been able to connect to work on moving forward the age-friendly agenda together through seeing that place go in the chat. So I hope that the same is able to happen today. So as I leave you to continue to add these into the chat, we will get started on what are age-friendly communities. And to begin, I'm going to play a quick video.
The place where we live can have a huge impact on our health and well-being. Age-friendly communities make it possible for us to continue to live in our homes, participate in the activities that we value, and contribute to our communities for as long as possible. In an age-friendly community, older residents are able to shape the place where they live. where local groups, councils, businesses and residents work together to identify and make changes in both the physical and social environments, such as volunteering, employment, transport, housing and the design of streets and neighbourhoods. Developed by the World Health Organization, the Age-Friendly Communities Framework is built on the evidence of what supports healthy and active ageing in a place. Becoming an age-friendly community requires political commitment. It means listening to the voices of older people and working in partnership to deliver on an action plan. A growing number of towns, districts, cities, counties and city regions across the UK are working to ensure that more people can live healthy and active later lives. Together, these places make up the UK network of age-friendly communities. Through its affiliation to the WHO, the network is linked to over 1,000 other cities and communities in more than 40 countries. We want more communities to join the UK network and help create places where more people can enjoy their later lives. Let's take action today for all our tomorrows. Let's make ageing better.
So to reiterate a couple of the points that came from the video, an age-friendly community is a place that enables people to age well and live a good later life, where it's possible for people to continue to stay living in their homes, participate in the activities that they value, and contribute to their communities for as long as possible. So it's about aging, it's not only about being older. And that's important because an age-friendly community should promote the behaviours that help us stay healthy and active for longer, whilst also reducing barriers to our staying involved and contributing if or when our abilities decline. And the World Health Organization's Age-Friendly Communities Framework acts as a guide for communities to achieve this goal. So where did the age-friendly communities approach come from? The concept of an age-friendly city was developed by the World Health Organization in 2007 in consultation with older people around the world. And since then, this concept has been broadened to age-friendly cities and communities. And there are currently over 1,500 communities taking this approach who are members of the WHO Global Network of Age-Friendly Communities. The WHO framework is grounded in concepts such as ageing in place, livable communities, and universal design. And increasing the number of communities across the world that are age-friendly is part of a number of global healthy ageing strategies, including the UN Decade of Healthy Ageing, launched in 2021. So why does this international approach matter here in the UK? Well, as many of you know, we're experiencing a massive population shift, and we are going to have a greater number and proportion of older people in our population. The fact that many of us are living longer is to be celebrated, but it's going to have an impact on how our society and our communities need to function. This graph on the screen is taken from Centre for Ageing Better's annual State of Ageing report, and it uses English data, but we do see the trends replicated across the 4 nations. So the purple bars on the left of each age bracket show the percentage change in the population we can expect in the next 20 years, and in the green on the right in the next 40 years. And you can see in the age brackets on the screen, the 20 to 34-year-old group, the 35 to 49-year-old group, and the 50 to 64-year-old group, we're not going to see major change. But if we were to add the youngest age group to this graph, you can see that there'll be a notable decrease in the percentage of the population who are 0 to 19. And then if we were to add the 2 oldest age brackets, you can see that we're expecting a massive increase over the next 20 and then 40 years. In particular, the 80 plus age group, where we can see we're expecting an 111% increase. So the population is aging, and the older population is also becoming increasingly diverse. And if we're to ensure that our communities work for everyone, including older people, we must act now to make the most of the opportunities and combat the challenges of our aging population. Reimagining how society needs to work for a changing demographic is not an easy task, but this is where the World Health Organization Age-Friendly Communities approach helps communities to take the first steps to take improvements. So why should we take the World Health Organization Age-Friendly Communities approach to address demographic change? It's an approach which supports an effective and targeted use of resources. Just because this demographic shift is a big change doesn't mean that we have a lot of resources to address it. And by going through the World Health Organization process that we're going to lay out today, communities are able to understand their unique challenges and opportunities that this demographic change poses to their place, and will be able to make strategic decisions about where to use limited resources to make the biggest difference. The approach is preventative. By supporting people to remain active and more connected for longer, you'll see better health outcomes and less reliance on critical or crisis responses. For instance, we would want to see people supported to make adaptations to their homes that prevent a fall or a move to a care home. This approach brings together the public, private and voluntary sectors to identify and make changes. Although it is often the local council who is coordinating the work, everyone has a role to play. And by bringing partners together, it can help places consider how they integrate their services to work better for older people. From a statutory perspective, adopting the age-friendly communities approach can help councils meet their duty under the Equality Act, ensuring that age is considered as one of the protected characteristics, as well as the Care Act to prevent, reduce and delay people developing needs for care and support. The age-friendly communities approach provides a framework for ensuring that actions taken are informed by people's lived experience and gives opportunities for co-production. And finally, becoming an age-friendly community is not just about starting new things. It's a way of bringing together and making visible all the work that's already happening in your community, which is making it a better place to age. I'm now going to share another quick video to hear from some of the people who are coordinating age-friendly work in their area to understand what the age-friendly approach means to them.
Age-friendly means how do we start to develop policies and practices that enable us to adapt to demographic change. So if there are going to be so many more of us living longer, it's almost like the shape of our society is changing. And so how do we adapt, whether it's our housing, our transport, our social infrastructure, how do we adapt to accommodate that change?
Age-friendly means an environment where anybody is able to access anything they want to be able to do. So there shouldn't be any kind of physical or societal barriers to letting people to achieve what they want to do to grow in a city.
Well, I think the World Health Organization structure of age-friendly cities is a brilliant template for people to follow and look at, and looking at those 8 domains covers a lot of the areas that are really involved in older people's lives. And I think it's very much about talking to the older people. Every area is going to be different, and even within a city and within Belfast there's different areas that are very different from the city centre and things, but it's really getting those older people engaged, finding out what they want, what they need, and obviously getting all the other agencies involved too, so that everybody's working together for one plan for the whole city and the whole area. And you know, we're all working to the one common goal, and it's finding out what the older people want and need in that area.
Well, the first thing we need to do if we want to create more age-friendly cities, neighbourhoods, towns and villages is that we have to listen to the testimony and the voices of older people themselves and the different groups of older people. As a society, our ageing population is getting more heterogeneous, and we need to listen to those different groups of older people who tell us about their experiences of services, of the places that they live. So that's the first thing we have to do. Once we've done that, we have to build those views and that testimony into all the things that we do as a society.
And as Paul said there, we need to listen to the testimony of older people to understand what making your community age-friendly would mean to them. So I'm now going to play another quick video of a group of older people in Eccles who were involved in the work in age-friendly Salford to hear what age-friendly means to them.
It means people recognising that sometimes older people need more help. So, for example, even without me asking, sometimes the bus driver, when I get off the bus, will lower the bus for me so that it's easier to get off. They don't all do it, but it's lovely when they recognise that I might need a bit of help with that.
Age-friendly is something that where you go out into the community and things are accessible for the elderly people. like pavements and that, footpaths, bus stops where there's a seat for people to sit, being able to get a medication to the door without having to go to the chemist, that sort of thing.
Age-friendly means being accepted, but I can't see any difference whether it should be youth-friendly or middle-aged friendly. We should all be working together as a community, teamwork and working together. And I think communities and organisations need different aged people and get different views and all working together.
I think to age well, from my perspective, is to be mobile. That's my biggest thing at the moment. So just be able to participate in activities. I wish I could tell my younger self to keep up with the yoga, and I would say to everybody, keep your mobility.
And there must be 50,000 old folk in Salford that could do with the thing that I've been fortunate to have had that into the Zoom meetings with Andrea and Vanda. But I'd like other people to know about that. And I spoke to friends of mine in the community, and they're not confident enough to come on. It's having that they're just stuck in the house and, I don't think it's for me, or it's for old folk.
So now we've heard about why a community should become age-friendly from a number of different perspectives. I'd like to invite you to put in the chat any thoughts that you have on what it might mean if your community was age-friendly. It might be a word or a link to something that's already going on in your place. And as you do this, I'm going to hand over to Rebecca, who's going to talk us through the detail of the World Health Organization Age-Friendly Framework.
Thank you, Charlotte. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca, and I'm the Age-Friendly Communities Learning Officer here at the Centre for Ageing Better. As Charlotte said, in this next section, we're going to take a look at the Age-Friendly Communities Framework as developed by the World Health Organization. And it's made up of these two models, the 8 domains and the programme cycle, what we often refer to as the what and the how of the age-friendly approach. We're going to be going through both of these in the next section. Starting with the 8 domains. The 8 domains are the aspects of community life that are important to ageing well. All 8 domains interlink, but can be viewed as these two main spheres covering the built and the social environment. Paying attention to the needs and perspectives of older people in these domains can mean the difference between old age becoming a barrier or not in your community. And as we go through each of the petals on the age-friendly flower now, we're looking to share why it matters, who might be involved, and what kind of work might sit in that domain. It's important to note that age-friendly goes beyond individual pieces of work. It's a whole systems approach that needs us all to be rethinking how we deliver services with our ageing populations in mind. We'll be putting some examples in the chat and encourage you to do the same, but we won't be offended if you choose to minimise the chat if it's getting distracting for you. And as a reminder, we'll be sharing all of this information afterwards. Starting with the built environment, outdoor spaces and buildings. These have a major impact on our mobility, independence and quality of life as we age. You'll often hear a lot of talk about access to places to rest and toilets in this domain, or pews and loos, both of which make it easier to be out and about and enjoying what your place has to offer, and not just in later life, but for people including wheelchair users, with visual impairments, or with buggies too, for example. Here are some examples of work in this domain. Volunteers working with businesses and communities to create maps of toilets or benches in a local area. Organisations sharing relevant contacts and ways of reporting common access issues like broken pavements. Or councils including people of all ages, including older residents, in walking audits for a redevelopment of a local park, for example. Affordable, reliable and convenient transport options enable older people to get out and about and continue to do things that matter to them. Whether it's going shopping, meeting friends, or attending an appointment, good transport is essential to everyone, and particularly for people who don't drive. We know that this can be particularly challenging in more rural communities. For an older person, good transport options could mean the difference between staying at home and being independently out and about for longer. Work in this domain could include transport providers promoting journey assistance cards to let the driver know of any additional support a passenger might need. Community transport providers working with older adults to make sure there are convenient ways to request a ride, perhaps without having to need a smartphone. Or councils providing safer driving for longer courses so that older drivers have the opportunity to reflect on their abilities and consider efficient alternatives to driving when that time might come. We're going to take a look at a case study now of some good practice in the transportation domain. On the Isle of Wight, they delivered training to help service providers become more age-friendly, including transport providers. This training has now been delivered to over 30 organisations on the island, including Tesco and their library service. Now we're going to watch a short video about how the island's main bus operator has incorporated this training into programmes for all of their staff. Thank you.
Since they've had this training, my daughter, she said that she had actually noticed the difference, that she could sit down before the bus pulls away. It almost acts like dominoes when he does it too quick.
It's called age-friendly training, quite simply, and it's a training course that we developed to get people to kind of understand what we meant by age-friendly. But it was aimed at staff that work with customers to enable them to see the difficulties that older people have or could have, and how that they can better communicate with their older customers.
The first part of the course is classroom based. We talk in the morning about the types of people and the types of disabilities that people are experiencing on the buses. We break it down into various sections: wheelchair users, people with visual problems, people with hearing problems, and then in the afternoon we take our drivers through the age simulation training, where we then put them in the sight simulation glasses. We do some audio tests with them as well, which lets them experience what it's like to be deaf on a bus, and then we do the age simulation suit. So we cover an awful lot, which is, you know, really good.
Would highly recommend it, because it really has made a difference to our business, and you know, going forwards that we want to continue that, and looking at other areas within the business of where, you know, whether it be learning difficulties or things of that nature, that we do go that extra mile for people, because at the end of the day we want bottoms on seats. You want to make a profit, and the idea of being able to adapt a business for the elderly and for other demographic groups is really important and is key.
We get many different types of customers, i.e. disabled, elderly, and they all have needs at the end of the day, which I don't think the bus industry has noticed. I feel that we're making steps forward. This course has really helped, because we're putting ourselves in their feet quite literally with this suit that we've been wearing, so we can sort of get an understanding of our customer and respect our customer now, because we just didn't get a understanding of our customer, which made us frustrated, and now we understand their needs and demands, we can deal with it appropriately.
I think what would be really great is if, from us doing training like this, if there could be some sort of standardised training across the bus industry. There's going to be an awful lot more older customers using our buses, and people need to be prepared for that, and we need to know how to look after them. So I think if what we could do could be rolled out sort of as nationwide training and standard training, that would be really beneficial to people.
And in the spirit of the UK network of age-friendly communities, we've seen places in Lincolnshire, Middlesbrough, Leeds and more develop and deliver their own versions of age-friendly awareness training. And we'll share details with you after the session. Moving on. The right housing and support can allow us to age comfortably and safely in our community. And we know that this is important. More than 80% of people aged 65 and over want to stay where they are. We also know that poor housing can have a huge impact on health. But when housing is considered as part of the age-friendly approach, It can help to maintain or improve physical and mental well-being, as well as social connections. So work might include all the volunteers promoting checklists to rate the age friendliness of our homes, which can help to think about improving or moving. Creating a directory of qualified and reliable maintenance workers that can be trusted when making repairs. Or setting up a local good home hub, an easy to use one-stop shop for information and support on housing. And there's more about what that could look like on our website. Moving on to the social environment, social participation. This is the stuff to do that helps people to feel connected, the fun stuff. We know that participating in leisure, cultural, and spiritual activities is really important for a sense of belonging and good relationships, without which we can experience loneliness and isolation. When we're talking about older people, we're talking about a huge range of ages and experiences, and local cultural needs and preferences will continue to diversify as our demographic changes. An age-friendly community will strive to be led by what people want, and will be working to make sure activities are as financially, culturally, and physically accessible as possible. So work might include offering micro grants for a diverse range of groups to organise themselves to do things that they want to do. Cultural partners making the most of opportunities for older and younger residents to come together to share skills, knowledge, or perspectives. Or groups organising meals at local restaurants, making it easier for those living alone to socialise at weekends in a setting of their choice. Respect and social inclusion. This is about ensuring all backgrounds are able to actively participate and be respected. We're halfway through the domains now. Despite age being a protected characteristic, ageism is prevalent around the world, and experiences of prejudice and social exclusion can be exacerbated when also considering things like culture, gender, sexuality, health, and economic status. So we might see things like businesses launching a Time for You till, designed to support those who might need a bit more time with their shopping, which may include people living with dementia. Communities celebrating older people's experiences of your changing place through heritage projects, and for International Day of Older Persons this October. Or service providers swapping out photos of wrinkly hands and replacing them with positive and realistic images of a diverse range of older people, like the ones that we've used today. And you can use images from our Age Positive Image Library for free. The Take a Seat campaign is a great case study for what a community can do under the respect and social inclusion domain. It's an initiative that spread from New York to Manchester to Barnsley, and here we're looking at it in Nottingham. The campaign encourages places in the community to offer people a chance to take a seat and catch their breath without having to buy anything. Here's a short video on the campaign.
With Take a Seat, it's all about shops, businesses, any location really, but it's about being aware that older people cannot walk quite often far enough there and back, and they become isolated in their own homes. So local businesses, they can offer a seat. So older people, wherever they see the age-friendly Nottingham flower, they can go in, they'll get a seat for a few minutes, catch the breath, and then they'll be able to go on and do their business and then go back home.
It's just more confidence that there will be somewhere to sit down when you're out and about, and that people are being made more aware that it is a significant issue. And once people are made aware of it, they rarely seem to be in doubt that it's a good thing, and they will always become helpful. It's just an awareness thing, largely.
You know, everywhere they go, it's in the shop, Nottingham Balloon Societies, everywhere you go, it's got Nottingham Take a Seat, it's everywhere it's advertised. Every single social worker should know about it, because it's about making sure sharing good practices. All it is, it's a simple concept, but I think it's the most easy one to implement.
For us, it's important that all our customers of all ages are comfortable around the store and happy to shop and feel looked after. And we've noticed from time to time there were situations where we didn't have places for people to take a seat or just take a rest so they could have a moment and then continue with their day. It's all about making sure your customers are comfortable in your store, so obviously it helps business. It makes people stay in the store longer because they feel more comfortable. So it works for both the customers and for the businesses.
Councillors love it. The councillors are really keen on Take a Seat because it's working with their local communities. It's sustainable, it's cheap, and it gets people to think about what older people really want.
And Take a Seat can be an easy way to get the word out about age-friendly work, and it can start with a spare chair and a chat. We've got more resources on our website about how you can get things started in your area. Next, civic participation and employment. In today's economy, the older worker is the workforce. Employers need to care more about older workers, and an age-friendly community can play a key part of that. Good quality volunteering in later life has a measurable positive impact on mental health, and paid work can have a positive impact on well-being as well as finances. Yet the opportunities for these diminish with age. So this domain is about providing good quality options for people in later life to continue to contribute in the community. Work might include employers signing up to the Age-Friendly Employer Pledge, a nationwide programme where employers commit to improving work for people over 50. Local authorities offering targeted employment support for older job seekers with an in-person offer. Or organisations advertising a range of accessible volunteering opportunities, particularly those suitable for disabled people with caring responsibilities or people with long-term health conditions. Communication and information, getting the word out there. We know that staying connected and getting timely, practical information is important for all of us, especially as we get older. And it's important to have information that's accessible for those with varying resources and abilities. For example, people who don't have English as a first language, are digitally excluded, or have a sensory impairment. When information is easy to see, hear, and understand, everyone benefits. So as well as campaigning for greater accessibility, in this domain, you might think about offering digital skills support for older people who aren't online but would like to be, paying attention to their goals and aspirations. Older volunteers becoming age-friendly ambassadors to help amplify messaging with their peers, whether around tips for keeping well at winter or what's on that might be of interest. Or councils coordinating targeted campaigns around entitlements such as pension credit, so that more people are aware and can be supported to access what they're entitled to. And finally, as the older population grows in size, the need for community support and health services grows too. This domain is strongly connected to good health and well-being throughout life, alongside accessible and affordable healthcare services. Some age-friendly communities incorporate their financial inclusion work in this domain, acknowledging the huge impact that financial instability has on quality of life and health throughout the life course. Here's where work happens to support people to be healthy and cared for in the community. So in your place, it could look like supporting local walking sports clubs, making it easier for those who've played football, for example, to continue to enjoy their healthy hobby. Organising an age-friendly information event for older people, bringing in people from frontline services and the voluntary sector to share what support and activities are on offer. Or councils working to hear older people's views on services such as falls prevention initiatives are run. And that might result in you finding a more suitable location or a different and more appealing way of promoting what's on offer locally to help improve people's strength and balance. There we go. So we hope that that gave you a sense of the broad range of work and partners that have a part to play in your age-friendly community. As we said, age-friendly is more than a bench here or a tea dance there. Those things are important, but making our communities good places to age starts with doing what we're already doing with our ageing population in mind. You might have lots of ideas now and be thinking, but where do we start? Well, together with a diverse range of older people, you'll be understanding what your place's assets and priorities are, and then choosing where to put your energy accordingly. And that's what the other part of the World Health Organization's age-friendly framework is there to help you to do. So as an age-friendly community, you'll have taken the decision to make improvements to your place at whatever pace you can. The World Health Organization's programme cycle has 4 steps which guide communities through these continuous improvements. As we've said, although it will often be the local council who is coordinating the work, everyone has a role to play in this process. Typically, it takes around 5 years, but becoming an age-friendly community is a journey and you'll be going at your own pace depending on your resources. But let's follow the cycle clockwise now. First step is to engage your stakeholders and understand what is happening locally so that you can assess the age-friendliness of your place as it is. During this stage, you'll form a steering group to oversee the developments and also gain political commitment from the leadership in your place, demonstrating that you're actively working towards becoming a great place to grow old. The second stage, plan strategically, is where you bring together the key stakeholders for your age-friendly community around a shared vision for your place. Together with older people, you'll be analysing strengths and weaknesses in your age-friendly community and deciding on your priorities for action. Stage 3 of the cycle is where you'll create and deliver on an action plan, consulting on existing plans and aligning yours with existing activity and energy in your place. As a reminder here, age-friendly work won't all be new work. You're already doing some of it. And your action plan might simply be an umbrella for the work that brings everything together and acknowledges how you're applying an age-friendly lens to broader improvements in your place. Again, there's no defined scale of action plan, and it can be as big or as small as you can manage. And in the final stage of the cycle, you'll do an evaluation to identify successes and challenges. This will be the basis for making future improvements. This stage involves collecting evidence on both the process of implementing the age-friendly approach, as well as its impact on local people. So that's the 4-step cycle in brief. And as part of the UK network, your community will be supported with tailored training, guidance, and templates for each of these stages of the programme. If you'd like to find out more, you can have a look at our page and our website, where there's also some great resources from across the network under each stage. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Rebecca. So we've heard now what the age-friendly programme cycle looks like in general, but how does this live out in a real place? So we're now going to go to a recording from Dave Thorley, which was taken from a previous run of this webinar, who is going to talk about their work in age-friendly Manchester.
Hi everybody, Dave Thorley from Manchester, and it's really incredible to see this number of people. It's really inspiring, I think, and kind of reassuring and uplifting to see this level of interest in this kind of movement, I would think, I'd like to call it. So we've been around doing age-friendly work for roughly 20 years now. So my journey, I'm going to have to whistle through it because we've been around a bit. And like a lot of things, it started with an individual within the City Council and a policy team who basically was sat there thinking, nobody's looking at ageing populations, inequalities in later life, the impact of this. And it's from that kind of individual really that the programme in Manchester began. And it began within the kind of public health team and took a very kind of equalities approach and a very social approach to ageing. And I think that's benefited us because we've not sat there taking an adult services approach or a health approach. We look at how do you age well? So rather than how do we fix things that are broken. It's actually how do people enjoy a better and have a happier later life. So that's sometimes a bit different to some of the approaches we encounter with colleagues elsewhere. I suppose the key moment for us was around 2003 to 2006, where we established the Valley and Older People team. Later on became the Age Friendly Manchester team. We established an Older People's Board, which is a representative group of older people who both elected to sit on that board, but also a number of representative groups that work with or represent older people, such as Carers Forum, LGBT Foundation, BAME Network, a number of groups like that, and also political representation on the board, which is incredibly important for us. That same period, we also established a Older People's Forum, now the Older People's Assembly, which is an open group to the over 50s, of around 150 people who we consult on a regular basis and help shape through kind of the voice of experience, and critical friends help shape what we do. We also set up around that time a neighbourhood coordination group, which brings together frontline workers in neighbourhoods and places who are doing work with older people, whether providing services or voluntary sector organisations. So again, a network around that. And we also set up our first age-friendly networks, which are about local networking of organisations and groups who work with older people who can set local priorities. So those were some of the key kind of foundations really and building blocks of what we do. Over time, we've gone on to build partnerships with academia and the local universities, which have been absolutely fundamental to kind of shaping some of the policy and what we do, because it's based on evidence. At the same time, we like to think we help shape what academia does as well through policy and practice. In 2009, we began a number of intergenerational programmes, Manchester Generations Together. We set up our Culture and Ageing Partnership, which is still running today, which does two things. We have the Culture Ambassadors, which is older people as ambassadors for culture and encouraging all their people in their community to get involved in culture, and helps kind of shape cultural institutions to be more age-friendly, more age-aware. And we also have an age-friendly culture working group, which brings together probably 30, 40 representatives from the world of culture in the city to talk about how they can both support older artists, but also make sure their programming and their venues are more accessible and age-aware and age-friendly in terms of what they do. In 2010, we were the first UK city to join the WHO's World Health Organisation's network of age-friendly cities and communities, and that's why we changed our name to Age Friendly Manchester and kind of recognition of that. I'm just whistling through some of this stuff here, there's quite a bit of stuff. We launched the first over 50s nightclub in 2014. A lot of old residents said to us, we used to go into the city, we used to enjoy culture, we used to go out dancing and all the rest of it, and actually we don't feel that's for us anymore. So we created a club night for the over 50s, along with sexual health advice and condoms, because if you're going to go out drinking and dancing, you might trap off, and therefore you might not have done that for a while. We need to make sure people have that public health message as well. What else have we done? We launched our Age Friendly Older People's Charter in 2015, setting out the kind of expectations and the rights that older people expect to have living in the city, and asked organisations and cities to sign up to that. Anything else here we need to mention? We announced the creation of our first LGBT extra care housing scheme in 2017, and we've created a number of other governance structures around the board and the assembly which are quite important as well, such as our Age Friendly Steering Group, which is the senior officer group who deliver the priorities and actions from the Ageing Cities Ageing Strategy, and we've just launched our Age Friendly Manchester Executive Group, which is the senior leadership across health, the council, the voluntary sector and the system, who have oversight and responsibility for delivering the city's ageing priorities and actions as well. So those are some of the things I suppose we've done over that period, the journey, and kind of why we do that. I think the thing I think we're probably most proud of is the board. It's about ensuring the voice of older people is a constant voice and runs through everything that we do. So, we launched that board in 2003, and that board has met every 2 months since then on a regular basis. It's had a key role to play in shaping strategy and policy. It holds senior officers and leadership to account. They have to come and present to that board and tell them what they're doing and why and how they're going to do that. And sometimes they might get a flea in their ear, get sent away by the board and told to go back and to change that and come back with some revised kind of opinions and policies as well. So it's been really important. And with the advent of COVID, a lot of those residents are older residents who weren't online, but we've managed to get them online. So the board now meets virtually and has been meeting actually on a monthly basis since the advent of COVID as well. So that's been a really important thing for us, is that voice is very strong and continues to be there as a presence that shapes what we do. And most recently, the board were instrumental in setting out the city's recovery priorities around ageing.
With thanks to Dave there for sharing their journey. And we'll put in the chat some more information about Age Friendly Manchester. So just to pull out a couple of the key themes that Dave was speaking about how the Age Friendly approach is working in Manchester. The Age Friendly approach is underpinned by putting older people at the heart of decision making. Like with the Older Persons Board and the Older Persons Assembly that Dave mentioned that they have in the city to review services and policies. It's a partnership approach with different stakeholders, bringing together the public, private and voluntary sectors across the community. Like in Manchester through their age-friendly networks, which bring together local organisations who work with older people and partnerships with organisations like local universities. The age-friendly approach is a life course approach, supporting intergenerational relations, which has been lived out in the city through their Generations Together programme. And finally, becoming an age-friendly community is about making the commitment to make improvements at whatever pace you can. It's not about achieving a certain standard. We've just heard from Manchester what they've been able to set up over 20 years. This work takes time, and there are communities across the country who are at different stages of their journey, delivering this work with different levels of resource. But the good news is that the UK network of age-friendly communities is set up to support communities on their journey to learn together and from good practice. Which leads me on to introduce the UK network of age-friendly communities, what this network offers to help you on your age-friendly journey. So as we said earlier, there is a global network of age-friendly communities run by the World Health Organization with over 1,500 communities across the world who are working to become more age-friendly. And at the Centre for Ageing Better, we support an affiliate network of that wider global network here in the UK. In the UK, there are currently 66 age-friendly communities, mainly in England and Northern Ireland, with 1 in Wales and 2 in Scotland, but we're looking forward to others joining us soon. Together, the current communities have the potential to impact on the lives of 24.8 million people, over a third of the UK population, and over 7.8 million are aged 50 and over. Age-friendly communities can exist at lots of different levels. So we have towns, boroughs, districts, cities and city regions who are members of the network. Having a look on the screen, you might see yourself or a neighbour on the map, or you might be shocked to see that there's no age-friendly community around you yet. And we hope that some of you will be encouraged to work towards seeing a pink pin in your place. So membership to the UK network is free and open to all communities who have committed to adopting the age-friendly communities approach. Through the network, places are supported both directly by our team, but also through peer-to-peer support that we offer. We provide individual guidance to communities on their first steps on becoming an age-friendly community. We host a weekly peer call where network members share good practice and problem solve together. We offer training sessions to help you at different stages of the programme cycle that Rebecca spoke about today. We also have an online resource hub which contains examples of important documentation like baseline assessments or action plans from other places that you can use for inspiration. We bring the network together physically in an annual conference, and we broker connections between network members to support one another on their journey or on similar projects. And we can also attend meetings or hold bespoke workshops in your place, like bringing stakeholders together to develop an age-friendly vision or strategy, for instance. We also offer a range of online resources which anyone can access, including an age-friendly e-newsletter, case studies and an age-positive image library, and interactive evidence cards with stats on ageing. And we'll put some links to these in our follow-up email. Finally, I wanted to finish off by sharing what some of the first steps are to make your place an age-friendly community. There is a role for everyone in either getting involved in or advocating for their place to become an age-friendly community. However, as we've said, it tends to be the local authority, often in partnership with the local voluntary organisation, who take responsibility for the first steps in making their place an age-friendly community because of the powers they hold in their local relationships. So if you're joining us today from a local authority or a voluntary sector organisation, these are the 3 first steps to start your age-friendly journey in your place. You'll be gaining the political commitment that your place will work to become a better place to age in. This could take the form of a signed letter from the highest level official, such as the leader of the council, or it might be agreed through your local health and wellbeing board, for instance. Secondly, you'd be setting up the working group or groups that can start to direct this work. And this will include representation from stakeholders across those different domain areas, as well as older people in your community. These can start off small, and they could be new groups, or they might use existing groups to lead this work. Thirdly, you'll be working to understand the current age friendliness of your place. So you'll be looking at what the data tells you about what it means to age in your community, as well as listening to older people to understand what their priorities are to improve the age friendliness of your community. Doing these 3 things well will set you up to be able to make the decisions on what age-friendly work you want to do and have the support and governance in place to be able to take action on these priorities. We know that in real life, actually setting up an age-friendly community can come with challenges, whether that's resourcing, getting the participation you need, or demonstrating impact. Age-friendly communities across the country are bringing creativity to addressing these challenges and sharing learning with one another as part of the UK network. To discuss how you really make this happen, you can join us in our drop-in session tomorrow lunchtime, or in the meantime, you can have a look at our blog on our website from Paul McGarry, who's been leading age-friendly work across Manchester and Greater Manchester for over 20 years. In it, he shares his 10 top tips for delivering age-friendly communities, and we'll put it in the chat now and send it in a follow-up. But if you're joining us today, not from a local authority or a voluntary sector organisation, and would like to support your community to become age-friendly, the first step is to take a look at our map of age-friendly communities on our website and that we shared today. If your community is part of the network, you can get in touch to see how you could be more involved, and the contact details will be there.